Well, welcome everyone. It's glad to have everybody attending. And to today's webinar, we've titled Thorne plus Fullscript Back Together on One Platform. I'm Dr. Jeff Glad. I'm the Chief Medical Officer here at Fullscript, as well as a practicing integrative medicine physician in Indiana. And it's with a lot of excitement that we get to share and celebrate with you today the return of Thorne to the Fullscript platform. I know that early on in our discussions at the executive level at Fullscript, as we're sort of talking about the potential Emerson and Wellevate acquisition, my first point was we've got to get Thorne back on the platform. It's been a big piece for integrative medicine and functional medicine and the delivery of that. So it's really exciting for us to now have this and announce this. So let's get into the content. I want to introduce Dr. Jennifer Greer, who's a naturopathic doctor and Thorne's medical science liaison. And she's here to share Thorne's suite of products so that you could start adding Thorne to your Fullscript treatment plans today. We've sort of set this up as a little bit more conversational as opposed to just sort of straight run through of slides. So I'll sort of prompt some of the discussion and some of the points that Dr. Greer wants to bring up, and realize the Q&A is available to you to sort of post some questions. Feel free to do that as soon as you'd like. We're going to put that at the back end though. We are also recording this webinar as we do all of our webinars. They will be hosted on the Fullscript website. So if you've got a drop, you've got something to do, or there's something you didn't kind of get or understand, you'll be able to have the slides as well as the presentation at your fingertips. So without further ado, Dr. Greer, thank you for joining us, and please talk to us about Thorne and what you guys are up to.
Great, thanks so much for having me, Dr. Glad. Really excited to be here today, and we're really excited to be back with Fullscript. And I wanted to start just with a quick overview about Thorne, maybe for people who are not as familiar or people who have been familiar in the past and are curious about what's been going on. So Thorne was started over 30 years ago by a husband and wife team and was really founded on the principles of being scientifically driven. So they wanted a company that produced safe products, that produced efficacious products, and that produced products that were based on research. And that has continued to be the mission of the company going forward from that point. So we are still involved often in clinical research. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. We have currently over 300 products in our portfolio. Many of those are exclusives. We also have a large line of NSF certified for sport products and are continuously growing and expanding on our innovations and technology within the company. But the main facets of the company have remained the same, such as our focus on sourcing exceptional ingredients. We want to make sure that we're manufacturing in a transparent way, that we're doing all of the testing that we believe is important, and of course also thinking sustainably both in our ingredients and as well as our packaging and other materials.
Yeah, that's great. And I know, being a practicing physician and talking to the physicians in the industry, lots of misconceptions about how supplements are regulated or not regulated. We get lots of questions around that. So talk a little bit about how Thorne is approaching regulation and how you guys are trying to be at the forefront and get out ahead of just the regulation in general of the industry.
Yeah, great question. So as you mentioned, there seems to be a lot of misconception even within the medical profession about how supplements are regulated or whether they are in fact regulated at all. And of course, we are regulated by the FDA, by the DSHEA Act that was enacted in 1994. Of course, that regulates us under the food industry, but we are still regulated. So we have to meet the good manufacturing practices that are set by the FDA. We are regularly audited by the FDA, and we have to meet standards as far as things that we say about our products. So we can't make claims that aren't approved by the FDA. We can't say that our product does something that it doesn't do, or we can't have ingredients in there that are banned substances or things that the FDA does not want to be in supplements or that shouldn't be, like pharmaceuticals. So in that way, we are very much regulated by the FDA, but supplement companies also have the option to be certified and have some regulation from third parties as well. And that's where companies like NSF the Australian Therapeutic Goods Administration, USP. There are several third-party entities that many companies are partnering with to have an extra layer of regulation, an extra layer of transparency. And so within that, we have chosen to partner with NSF. So we are certified by NSF. It's an internationally recognized organization. They do inspect our facility. They do surprise inspections. They certify us on our good manufacturing practices. And then we are also certified with the highest rating by the Therapeutic Goods Administration of Australia. And what you may not know about that, I didn't before I worked for Thorne, is that they actually have the highest standards in the world for supplement manufacturing, and they treat supplements and supplement manufacturing the same as pharmaceuticals. So for our facility to have their highest rating means that we are meeting those standards, which are the highest that they can possibly be. And then beyond that, we've also chosen to have a significant number of products be NSF certified for sport, which means that any athletes that want to use those products can be certain that anything with the NSF for sport label is free of the more than 200 banned substances that they'll potentially be tested for in elite athletics. So beyond just the FDA, there's a lot of other regulation that you can attend to as well. And I think some of the best companies in supplements are looking to have those other regulations and really be transparent about what they do.
Yeah, these are big topics, right? Because we're fighting against, patients being able to go out and try to source supplements on their own. And the recommendations we make, we really want to make sure the patients are on the quality products. And certainly we're seeing headlines, supplements that have been tested. There might be inappropriate ingredients. Sometimes there's no actual active ingredient at all. And so these are conversations that we want our providers having with patients. Talk a little bit about the steps Thorne is taking to sort of ensure the product quality in those bottles.
Yeah, that's really very important to us. So we actually have what we call our 5 zones of quality control at Thorne. And we're looking at everything from ingredients through the manufacturing process, which I just talked a little bit about, both our in-house and third-party certification and stability of our products as well. As we look into this, our quality department actually makes up nearly 15% of the workforce at Thorne. And with having close to 500 employees at this point, that's a large amount of the workforce that really is focused on quality. We spend more than 5% of our annual revenue on quality. And that starts with, in the beginning, the raw materials as they come into our facility. We're testing them to make sure they are what they're supposed to be, that they're free of contaminants, that they're free of things that shouldn't be in there. We also test them for microbiology, so to make sure that they're safe in that way. We do in-process testing as well. So within that, we're testing for identity of the product. We're testing for homogeneity of the product and to ensure that the manufacturing process is putting out the product that we're looking for. Finished goods, we also test at that point. So this is, again, testing for things like identity of the product, potency, and purity. And then we go on to do a 4th round of testing as well for stability. And this allows us to put an actual expiration date on our product that verifies that the products are potent and safe up through that date. And to do that, we do both a 90-day accelerated testing for temperature and humidity, and then a real-time testing as well. So when you're seeing that expiration date on a Thorne bottle, you can rest assured that that product has been tested up through that date for potency and purity. We also partner with third-party laboratories. So anytime there's something that we don't have the capability to test in-house, we do have qualified labs that we use for that. And so while the FDA really only requires 1 round of testing, we're taking that a step further, actually 3 steps further, and hitting 4 points of testing throughout the process.
Yeah, that's incredible. As providers, and I know I use the term professional grade supplements or pharmaceutical grade supplements with my patients, just so they understand, that this is a different level of of supplementation for them and for their health. So I know you've kind of touched on a little bit of that, but from an ingredient perspective and how Thorne is thinking about this, let's talk about how you're meeting those standards of what professional pharmaceutical grade means.
Yeah, absolutely. So this starts all the way back with our raw materials sourcing. So we are very strict with the raw materials that we use and the companies that we will partner with for our raw materials. Anything that we purchase is going to come into our facility and be quarantined, and that's where the first round of testing happens. During that process, we actually do not accept 15% of the raw materials that were sent. So we actually reject that. It goes back to the supplier. The supplier will then sell that product to someone else who's going to use it in their product. So even though we reject it, it doesn't meet our standards, it ends up somewhere else. And I think that really speaks to the difference in the level of products that you might see in your average, drugstore brand versus the professional brands, is that scrutiny that we're giving to the raw materials. Another example that I like to mention with this is with hidden ingredients. So often things like vitamin D, when it comes in as a raw material, it will have other ingredients. So the raw material supplier, when they're supplying you just with vitamin D, it may be in a lactose base. It may have other preservatives in it like BHT, BHA, things that we don't want in there. And as a manufacturer, you do not have to list those raw ingredients from the raw material on your supplement label. And so you would never know as a consumer if you were getting, say, a vitamin D that was made in a lactose base and had BHA and BHT in it. But we believe in full transparency. So those sorts of things we're screening for in the initial process, rejecting materials that have things in them that we don't want. And then what's on the label with our products, you can rest assured that is all that's in the product. We don't include anything else. If there's anything in there, we're always going to put it on the label, and we're very careful with any type of excipients that we might use. So all manufacturing to some point is going to use manufacturing aids at times. It's just a necessary part. But those things can add extra ingredients that you don't want. They can slow down absorption or inhibit your body's ability to get the most out of the product. So we actually have an extensive no list that we call our Thorne no list, and these are ingredients that we will never use in the manufacturing process. Things that we will always screen for in our raw materials to make sure that they are not included at all. Some of the bigger ones here, like I mentioned with vitamin D, are things like preservatives, BHA and BHT. But you'll often see stearates used as a manufacturing aid, and those can actually inhibit absorption of certain nutrients. So we're careful to always avoid those. Any sort of artificial flavoring, sweeteners, or colors, we never want to use in our products. So that's something that we're very careful about as well, but also hidden allergens or cross-contamination. So we are very careful, again, to make sure that we are doing a lot of cleaning between production runs. And so what that means is for a product like Mariva or the curcumin phytosome, which can be difficult to work with, if you're not going to add extra manufacturing aids, you have to spend more time cleaning the equipment before you can use that room again. So for a simple 4-hour production run of the product, we then have to spend the next 16 hours preparing that manufacturing room before something else can be produced there. And so I think that's a different way that maybe people have thought about supplements before. Like, you're not really picturing this one product took up 20 hours of production time just to be made. And that's another thing that I like to explain to patients as well when they're asking, well, this supplement costs so much more than the one that I, get at my local Walgreens or Walmart or whatever. And part of that is the amount of time and care that's really put into the quality of the finished product.
Yeah, that's excellent. And it really leads to my the next topic I'd love to hear more about. We know that the need for clinical research to support integrative medicine is essential for our future and for our growth, right? We at Fullscript say we want integrative medicine to just become medicine, but that will never happen without an evidence base to support what we're doing and recommending. So talk about how Thorne is helping our industry address that need.
Yeah, absolutely. So from the beginning of the company, research has been a strong foundation, and we continue to partner with research institutions throughout the company and government agencies as well on various research projects. And this can stem from just supplying product for a study that one of these entities wants to do, to being fully involved in the development and the research itself. So we do have a clinical research team on staff at Thorne, made up of people from various departments in the company and some outside people who work with us as well. And we have multiple clinical studies going on at any time that we're a part of, whether it's the ones that we're running ourselves or the ones that we're supplying product for. We actually have a great clinical study that we're recruiting for right now that's a metabolic health study. And so, you know, if you know anybody who's got some metabolic syndrome markers, maybe a high LDL, and they're interested in participating in a study, please send them over to our website because we are currently recruiting.
That's excellent. I have to, like, I'm excited. I went to IU Medical School. I don't remember them ever talking about supplements, so I'm glad to see them entering the arena and helping move the industry. So let's switch gears here a bit and chat about some of the new product innovations. You guys recently launched a product called Metabolic Health. Would love to give some info on the formula, and help me understand why I might use that over, say, a red yeast rice product, which I've really relied on over the years.
Yeah, that's a great question. So our Metabolic Health just launched this fall, and this formula includes 2 botanical extracts as phytosomes. So that's our curcumin phytosome, which is Mariva, and then it also contains bergamot phytosome. And the phytosome process actually allows those plant constituents that have a tendency to clump together and be difficult to absorb within the body to be better absorbed, in that they're surrounded by a phospholipid complex. Your cell's going to recognize that and take it in more readily. It also prevents the clumping as well. And so with that, you get better absorption. Mariva, the curcumin phytosome, has 29 times greater absorption than your average curcumin. The bergamot phytosome in studies has about 3 to 3.5 times better absorption than just the plain bergamot polyphenolic fractions. So it really allows you the ability to get better efficacy of dosing without having to take so many capsules to reach that goal. And one of the reasons we put this formula together is we felt that there was a need for greater metabolic support beyond just lipid support or blood sugar support, but actually some ingredients that can do those things together. And so both of these ingredients have been well studied for their ability to support healthy lipid levels, everything from LDL, HDL to triglycerides. They've been studied in supporting that within metabolic syndrome and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. These ingredients are also studied for helping to reduce visceral fat. So of course, that's the more metabolically active fat that tends to lead towards some of these concerns. And also overall helping to balance blood sugar and improve insulin sensitivity as well. So we think this is a really nice, well-rounded formula that allows you to approach some of these treatment plans when people have metabolic concerns that focus beyond just lipids, or maybe when someone doesn't tolerate a red yeast rice, or they've read something, you know, and they feel hesitant about it because they're unsure. You know, this gives you a way to approach that with some products that are really safe and great for a variety of people to use.
Yeah, that's exciting. I mean, obviously, so many of these chronic conditions we see are multifactorial, right? So we want to address them from multiple different aspects, and doing it in 1 bottle versus 4 or 5 bottles certainly increases the compliance too. You know, one of the reasons I was really excited to have Thorne back on Fullscript so that I could, you know, more easily dispense those to my patients is what you guys have done with healthy aging and the offerings in that catalog. And over the last year, you know, you've really expanded this healthy aging offering. So talk about that expansion. Give us some tips and some pearls on how we might choose one over another based on the patient that's in front of us.
Yeah, absolutely. So over the past year, we have reformulated and or expanded our line of healthy aging to include more products that are nicotinamide riboside containing products. They're going to really help to support that healthy aging cellular energy production function. And so within that, while we believe, you know, nothing is truly an anti-aging supplement because we're all going to continue to age no matter what we do, but we feel that supporting cellular repair, helping to support sirtuin function, boosting that NAD production, these are the things that are overall going to help our body do a better job of aging more gracefully and more healthfully. And so our line of products really starts with advanced nutrients. So advanced nutrients is a multivitamin, multimineral at its heart, but it has the addition of antioxidants that are going to support healthy cellular aging. So that includes nicotinamide riboside. It includes resveratrol, quercetin, bilberry, and some mixed carotenoids. And it's kind of a whole body approach to antioxidant support, multivitamin, multimineral health. So this is kind of your great starter into healthy aging for somebody who really wants an all-in-one, multivitamin product. Beyond that, we just in the last month released a new product called Brain Factors. Brain Factors contains nicotinamide riboside. It also has a whole coffee fruit extract and betaine as well. And one thing I like to mention here is that we include betaine or trimethylglycine with our NR formulas because as our body is increasing NAD, it also has to metabolize that. And to do that, it puts a methyl group on it and converts it to methyl nicotinamide. Lots of processes in our body use methyl groups, everything from neurotransmitter regulation to liver detoxification. And so we don't want to have to pull those methyl groups from other places. We want you to have plenty for all of the processes, including the increase in NAD that's going to help your overall health and aging. And so that's why we include that in our formulas. With this one, it's really targeted to supporting that NAD level that naturally decreases with aging, but also the coffee fruit extract supports brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is involved in so many cognitive processes. So we really see this as kind of the daily support for things like learning, memory, focus, people who are struggling with brain fog because they're overstressed and they want something to really help support those processes. Next is our Collagen Plus. This one is more for hair, skin, and nails. So it's going to have the nicotinamide riboside. It has collagen peptides, which are very well studied for their ability to improve skin texture and hydration. It also includes peach ceramides, which come from Japanese white peach. One thing that's really cool about that is most ceramide products come from wheat. So this is actually a different source. It's a Japanese white peach. It's been studied for its ability to support hydration in the skin, and then it has blackcurrant and red currant polyphenols as well. One nice thing about this formula is people are really seeing improvements in skin health, including texture, hydration, pigmentation within 4 weeks. So being able to see an improvement and visibly notice things are getting better, feeling better, looking better is really nice for people. One little caveat I like to throw out with this one is it is a passion berry flavored. A lot of times people have in their mind collagen powder for my coffee. I probably wouldn't put this one in my coffee because I don't know that berry coffee tastes so good, but green tea or matcha, great mix there. So this one's a fun one that we really love. Niacel 400 was kind of our original nicotinamide riboside product. So this one's just going to be the NR and betaine. It is a higher level of NR, so Niacel 400 and resveratrol are the highest amounts of NR in any of our products. And this one's a really great support for those who are athletes that are looking to support athletic performance. This one is NSF certified for sport. It's also a great one for people who are looking for that mitochondrial function support, and then any sort of metabolic support as well. And then resveratrol is what we like to think of as our kind of Cadillac of the healthy aging suite. So this one's going to be the same formula as Niacel 400, but with the addition of resveratrol and quercetin. And so that's going to add additional support for mitochondrial biogenesis. It's going to add additional support for sirtuin function in the body, but also it does some other things as well that I really didn't understand about this product until I dove deep into it. But quercetin, for example, makes resveratrol more bioavailable in your body. So when you take the two together, you're going to have the ability for quercetin to stay active and available in your system for longer than if you took either one of them alone. So it's a really nice synergistic formula that's going to support all of those healthy aging functions. And then Cinequel is a newer product in the last year that was developed by a neurologist at the Mayo Clinic who works a lot with athletes who are contact sport athletes. So while it was initially formulated really to support brain health in the contact sport athlete, the ingredients in this are supportive of all cognitive and neurological health. So for particular neurological conditions, this could be beneficial as well. It does contain beta hydroxybutyrate, which is a ketone body, a great source of fuel for a brain in need of some healing and repair. It has branched chain amino acids, CoQ10, it has DHA and the NR as well, along with some other healthy brain and nervous system ingredients like magnesium, riboflavin, resveratrol, and the curcumin phytosome. There's a second product in this line called SynaQuell Plus that, again, formulated by the same Mayo Clinic doctor. And the original purpose of these two and why we still have kind of the two formulations is the original SynaQuell was thought of as like a daily support for a contact sport athlete, particularly while they're in season, to make sure that they're getting all of the nutrients they need for healing and repair. And then SynaQuell Plus is more of a post-injury support. So they have roughly the same ingredients, just a higher dosing with the SynaQuell Plus to really meet those needs after a post-impact injury. And then just a quick glance, like how do you tell these apart? What if I wanted to pick one over the other? We do have some nice comparison charts that help with that, but the way I like to think of them with a quick one word is to think of brain factors as cognitive, Niacel 400 as athletes, resveratrol as the Cadillac, advanced nutrients as our multivitamin, multi-mineral, collagen plus for skin, and then SynaQuell for neuro health.
Wow, I just want to build my own personal protocol and just order all those for my family.
Yeah.
That was excellent. Thank you so much, Dr. Greer. And in regard to the brain factors, as far as Fullscript goes, that is set to be on platform on May 9th. So if you're in Fullscript, you're trying to put that into your protocols. Everything we've talked about today should be there to be able to enter the protocols. The brain factors will be there very soon. So excellent. So before we get into the Q&A, we've got a number of questions coming in. We're happy to take more, so go ahead and put those in the question box. But now that Thorne is in the Fullscript catalog, as a provider, encourage you to go in there and start either updating or creating new clinical protocols using these Fullscript products from the catalog. So, anything we've discussed today, the other suite of Thorne products, all available to be able to add to those protocols. And while you may not have noticed in the tagline for this webinar, there was a word we put in there that was very intentional. And that is together on one platform. And the reason we put that there is because Fullscript's unique platform has the ability to both manage your in-clinic inventory and your virtual dispensing. And so that's a tool that we are really excited about. And I know I continue to use it in our practice. So, within the same platform, you can purchase your wholesale products to have in stock in clinic. If you've been a provider, patients want to go home with things after you've talked to them about it, they're ready to start. And so send them home with that product from the clinic and then click fulfilled on site. We have an on-site RX button, which now logs that into Fullscript as a prescription for that patient so that their supplement journey will continue despite whether they are able to come back to your clinic or not when they need another bottle. So using that feature on one platform has been really, really great for long-term patient adherence to their supplement plan. You're also able to go in, and if you haven't already, and consider opening up your Fullscript catalog to patients so that they can have a self-serve ability to, explore these Thorne products and consider adding some of these products that we've talked about today. So excellent. That was my public service message for the Fullscript side of this. So we'll get to the questions. I've divided them up into sort of how we've talked about these. So Dr. Greer, how is the efficacy of the finished product tested at Thorne?
So at the finished product, we are testing for identity. So we're testing for that what we say is in there is actually what's in there and nothing more. We're testing for, again, purity, which is to ensure that there's nothing more than what we say is in there. And then we're testing for the amount, so the potency. And all of the SIG lines, so any of the dosing recommendations that we have on our products are based on what the research says the optimal dose is for that nutrient.
Excellent. Great. Got some supplement related questions. Is CoQ10 recommended with the use of metabolic health? I wonder if that comes from sort of red yeast rice statin, or just as an addition.
Yeah.
In general, CoQ10 is part of that.
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, with red yeast rice, which we do have two red yeast rice products. One is red yeast rice with CoQ10 in it, and then the other is a higher dose red yeast rice alone. And you're right, most often people think about using CoQ10 with that because of the active part of red yeast rice, which is essentially a statin, right? So it's going to have that H&G CoA reductase inhibition function. With metabolic health, it's not exactly the same way that it's working. So it's not as likely to lead to a depletion in CoQ10 like a statin would. So really not necessary to supplement CoQ10 with it. However, with that being said, most people who are going to benefit from something like metabolic health are likely to benefit from the cardiovascular and antioxidant support in CoQ10 as well. So there's nothing wrong with putting those two together. If that's something you wanted to do, I think that's a great pairing, but it's just maybe not something that's so necessary as you might feel that it is with red yeast rice.
Yeah, that's great. That's helpful. On the SynaQuell product line, I assume, but the question was asked, that benefits anyone despite whether they're on a ketogenic diet or not, right? The ketones are helping to support that brain function, but that could be any style of diet would benefit from the ketone bodies that are in that supplement.
Correct. Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And they're there because of the research as the beta hydroxybutyrate as a fuel for brain cell healing and repair. And that's really why it was formulated that way. So it could be used completely independent of a ketogenic diet and still be beneficial.
Yeah, perfect. And actually, Chris Sheridan just jumped in with a question that pairs off of that. You could use that in patients who've had traumatic brain injury or concussions, correct? That's one of the indications for the Plus product in SynaQuell.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, it was formulated initially so that the SynaQuell itself is kind of a lower dose of those ingredients. So it's thought of as more of a daily support, or maybe if you're using it with an aging population for neurological support versus a contact injury. Whereas the SynaQuell Plus is a higher dose of all of the ingredients. So it's really meant to be a shorter term use with SynaQuell Plus, maybe like 2 weeks or so after there was traumatic head injury, to aid with that additional nutrients. So what you see in the research are things like branched chain amino acids, glutathione's also in that formula, some of the other nutrients in there. When you look at how the body utilizes those after a brain injury, the amounts available in the body go down significantly because so much of it is being used. So especially in that immediate after period of healing. And so the SynaQuell Plus really comes in there as that increased nutrient support during that acute injury phase. And then after, 2 weeks or so, you could transition back for a little bit more longer term nutritive support from the original SynaQuell if you wanted to do that.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Next question. There are a few studies indicating that cardamonin, a compound found in cardamom, is helpful for triple-negative breast cancer. Are there any supplements in the Thorne line currently that contain this ingredient?
Not currently. We don't, and I don't know that we're looking to include that one, but it's definitely interesting. So I'll pass that along to our R&D team.
Yeah, that's great. And then I had a question about the chart that you showed at the end in terms of you kind of having ingredients and almost that compare type of slide. Is that on the website for reference for providers?
Yeah, it is on our website. We also have a professional PDF of it. It does need some updating. So with the release of Brain Factors and the reformulation of SynaQuell, we haven't added those to the chart on the website yet. So it may look not as expanded as the one I showed today, but within the next month or so, we should have that fully updated to include all of the new products as well.
Excellent. Another question about Cinequel Plus, is there any age-related dosing, say, for an adult versus a high school athlete?
Yeah, that's a great question. Generally speaking, if someone is in an adult-sized body, so 150 pounds ish or more, usually over the age of about 13 to 15, then the full adult dose is going to be fine. If you have someone who is a smaller athlete, and I'm thinking of things like gymnasts who tend to be very small but are definitely at risk of head injury, you may want to, reduce that dose based off of something like Clark's rule, where you can use weight to adjust that down to meet their needs. But it's definitely formulated for use in contact sport athletes. So I would not be afraid to use it in a teenager as well. Just maybe adjust that dose a little as needed.
Perfect. Question about Thorne providing support staff that would assist providers who want to understand more about the products, understand their use. Are there any resources that you have off the top of your head for that?
Yeah, actually, we have quite a few resources. So as far as everything from handouts that we have available for products, we have, for many of our products, we have both consumer-facing information, so patient-facing information, as well as practitioner-facing. The practitioner-facing is going to be more referenced, more in-depth, have more scientific information. We also offer consultations. So for example, if you wanted to have a call, usually it's going to be with me, but somebody from our medical staff to talk about which supplements might be the best fit for your practice. If you've brought some of them into your practice and you want to get your staff trained on how to talk about them, what some of the main features are, we do offer that as well. So you can always reach out to us and get that sort of thing set up.
Yeah, that's perfect, and great for obviously Thorne related products. On the Fullscript side, our integrative medicine advisory team, is staffed with a number of naturopathic doctors as well, and has sort of an ask a doctor feature. So, if there's specific Thorne questions, absolutely go to the experts that can help guide you there. The last question, will the Fullscript account have info sheets for each of the Thorne supplements to explain more? And I don't think we'll have at this time in the catalog info sheets per se. Certainly, as you look in that catalog on Fullscript, you'll be able to see kind of the basic information about the supplement, certainly the ingredients and the dosing, recommended schedule of dosing, which if it hasn't already been pre-populated when you're making that prescription for your patient, it will be soon. I know that's a feature that I use a lot, is sort of pulling right off the label, how the patient should take it. And sometimes I'll adjust that if it's appropriate. Dr. Greer, that was incredible. Lots of information. And again, this will be recorded. This will be housed on the Fullscript website for future reference or sending to other colleagues. Anything else you'd like to share that we haven't covered?
Not anything else I can think of. Just we're really excited to be back with Fullscript. Thanks so much for having us today. And as I mentioned, if you have Thorne specific questions or need some additional information, please don't hesitate to reach out. We are always happy to help with that.
Yeah, we're already seeing the success of having this partnership back in place, and look forward to the future, and look forward to having you back as you guys come up with new product lines and keep sort of pushing the limits on clinical outcomes and just getting people better.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have quite a few new things in the pipeline for the next year as well. So exciting things happening.
Awesome. Well, okay, everybody, thanks for joining. Again, the recording will be on the website if you need it. If you still have questions that you thought of later, reach out to your Fullscript rep, reach out any way you can, and we're happy to address those. So, Dr. Greer, great hanging out with you. Thank you for all your time and expertise.
Thank you. Yep, you too.